This video is for Hasan. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Hasan. I've seen some of his Wing Chun clips online, and I was quite impressed that he's gone to the effort of making a Wing Chun training dummy. However, some of his stuff looks like it's been a little bit self-taught, and so I offered, hey, would you like some help with some of the movements? And he said, yeah, sure. And so I said, I might post a video response. And so some of this clip might be a little bit disjointed where I'm changing the camera angle. Sometimes I might have his appear on screen, and then I might look at what he's doing and give some of my own feedback or a little bit of a review or advice. So I hope you find this clip useful, and yeah, keep training. Okay, so my first part of a bit of advice would be in the slow part with the fox out. Not to have it too in like that, see how the shoulders coming in is putting a lot of restriction on your shoulders. Also, you don't want to rush away and do this bit a million miles an hour. If I were to practice my punching wrong but fast, it may look like, oh, it's got a lot of speed, but if you slow it down, the technique is crap. Okay, so you don't want to be going like that because it's not working on the technique, so you want to slow it down. Think of your connection with the ground, down through your shoulders, into the elbow, wrist on the center line, and for now, maybe just think of your elbow moving forwards, and your elbow moving back, and also thinking of an awareness of your center line. So you don't have to be in here, because then what actually happens if I do that, if I bring this in here, is look at my chest, I got sort of some of my energy is heading off that way, because I've been focusing so much on getting this arm out that it's actually twisting my body slightly. That's exaggerating. But see that? You want to keep your body upright, relaxed, shoulders relaxed, facing square, and this is a slow exercise. By doing it slowly, you're developing sensitivity, which is very important in Wing Chun later on when you're dealing with redirecting on oncoming force or controlling force. My second critique of that part of the form is it's up a bit high when you do it. See that? This is exaggerating, but it looks up quite high. I get this thing here. If I'm hitting up quite high, a little bit, hasn't really got my body connected to the strike. So you want that, when you strike, your body's got to be connected to it. See that? So this is without a connection, with the connection, without the connection. Sorry, I thought I would drop my camera for a second. And with it. This is a high fox out. Now, in fox out, you're usually dealing with sticking hands, which you have to forgive the camera shaking a little bit. But if I'm up quite high, like this, and so you have my shoulders hunched, and maybe I throw a strike, I've lost connection with the opponent's hands, and they've now got an ability to attack. So if I'm up quite high, and I go like this, I've left myself open. Where if I've got the connection quite low with the fox out, thinking of the energy going up through my spine, down into my shoulders, down into my elbow, like this, I've now got weight on the opponent's hands, and I'm able to strike. I'm able to strike in a manner that is actually moving the arm away at the same time as I'm striking forwards. So this here is redirecting. See that? It's redirecting at the same time it's opening. But if it's up high and I just let go, I've sacrificed an opening. But you want to keep it here so it's using defense and offense as one. Simultaneous attack and defense. So there's quite a lot in that first section already. Also, in that part of the form, you don't want to have your fox out go all the way out to here. So when you're dealing with connection with the other person, from here I've got the sort of the ability, but out here it's not quite working. So if I'm trying to do sensitivity, not only that, the person, if they were to let go, it's now really far away from me. So here, if the person were to let go, they're within striking range. The next part is that I noticed is on this section here, you seem to just do something where you just go straight out to here. There's a movement where it goes sort of like, hang on, a bit cramped for room here. This, you got your back strike from down here, this type of movement here, and then out. So it's from here, like this. This can be demonstrated as a sort of like a sort of shearing of the arm. Maybe the person might have their arms on yours and you can sort of like do some sort of strike or something like that. Could be just that they've got their guard up and you can sort of use that to sort of make their guard collapse sort of by patting it down a little bit. I wouldn't say pat it down, but I've got an awareness of forwardness at the same time as I do this move. Like that. So someone's just putting their arms up. As they're just putting their arms up, bring it down. Of course these arms don't move, but you might get their arms crossed by doing that, and then you've got the ability to strike. Again, with demonstrating that part, it could be the person's just put their arms up. From here, there might be a strike coming in, patting it out of the way, striking. Strikes coming in, out of the way. Okay, so the main part there was a little bit off in your form is the bong sound movement. Now you don't want to be sending your elbow up like that. See? what can happen is if there's a lot of weight on my arm and I'm lifting it up, it hasn't really achieved that much. Instead, what you want to be doing is, trying to find an example. So here we've got a line, right? And it's heading towards me. So what I'm doing is I'm bringing my elbow around the line, causing a redirection. Don't know if it's a good angle, it's probably down a bit. So there's a line of force coming towards me, and if I just go up like that, it hasn't really done much. But if I bring the elbow around, it redirects. See that? Or here. Now it's not really the best example, but you can see the point. If I just go like this, it's putting weight on my arm, causing my shoulder to hunch, and then the strike's just going to come and get me. Where you want to bring the elbow around the line of force, causing a redirection, and then that's when you can do your sort of fancy chops and stuff like that. Okay, so there's a beginner way of doing the bong sao movement, and that is to think of a circle going this way. And as I get to about here, now I know all the people on the internet will be, well, you do it slightly different. This is a beginning way. I'm thinking of a circle going this way, and then as it's coming up, this bit comes out here, like this. And then on the way back, this bit is also scooping forwards, and this bit is scooping forwards. So it goes like that, and like that, and like that, and like that. 1, 2. There are other ways of doing this later on where you might be thinking of redirecting away. They're sort of using that part of the form from bong sao. So strike's coming in and I might move it out of the way like that. But this is using it as an offensive maneuver. I've redirected it away and it's offensive. So as the person is moving, I'm redirecting them that way. It's an opening to strike. Bong sao, tan sao, bong sao, tan sao. You can also practice it like this a little bit. You wouldn't want to do this like all the time. Some drills are just to learn a purpose, and then once you know the purpose, you don't need to actually practice them that much. But the point is, this has got a forward feeling, and this has got a forward feeling, like this, and like this. Later on, you might be, this bong sao might actually be offensive as I sort of, so some things can change slightly as you progress. But for now, I would go tan sao, bong sao, tan sao, bong sao. So it's circling forwards, circling forwards, circling forwards, circling forwards. So it's a transition from the vertical to sort of the horizontal. So I've got this here. So this is like a plane of force. Now there's an oncoming force, and then I'm using a horizontal force to create a sort of redirection. Okay? As you advance in doing it that way, you might make it so that it's more like it's coming in here, tan sao, and then it's moving up here, so it's a bit wider, and then this movement here is actually just a small movement, like that. So it goes like this and like this, because sometimes when you redirect, it might be a striker's coming in from this direction, and I've actually sort of blocked it. So this might be my block, but the force is too great. So this thing here doesn't move, so I might move to create the sensation. But if this force was coming in towards me moving, I might use the gong sound to redirect it. So this force is coming in towards me here, and I'm using the gong sound to redirect it. But if the force is coming in towards me and I just move the arm up, it hasn't really achieved anything. See, I can't move this to the side because this is going that way. Where if I use this to the core and this to the core, they're both working together in unison. So one thing you can do at home is maybe pivot doing bong sound, tan sound. Like this, boom. Right, a little bit of a rant on that, but I just seen your bong sound and it was going upwards like a chicken wing. So every time you do this, someone in the background is going to go chicken wing, chicken wing. It should be a redirection. So it's like a flow of energy. Some guy that I respect this martial art says it feels like the wave. A wave. So when you look at the ocean and the shape of the wave, it's very similar to the shape of the bong sound, especially when you add in a rotation movement. So with my tan sound, I don't go in like this, like with the fox sound I was describing. I keep it. It's like a boat coming into the dock. The boat comes in and then it aligns with the dock. So I've really got the bladed side of my arm on my centre line, so I've still got maneuverability of my arm if I need to defend with it. And also you can get the connection with the hip when you strike, where if it's in too much like this, I'm kind of like a lever to be moved around, where if I've got a little bit of play with my shoulder there, I can still maintain that forward focus. And then if a strike's coming in, arms out quite wide, so the elbow is out, where some people that have the elbow in like this creates a lot of tension in the shoulder. Also when they're doing their chi sao, they're crossing their own arms, which means that all the other person has to do is trap that arm down onto it by using, ironically, a fox sao. So, you know, the doing this sort of thing here, with the elbow up like that, and then if someone were to continue my arm like this, I'm kind of susceptible to a lock. So someone that's got their arm up like this combatively, it's a very bad position. They've also exposed on the ribs, where if it's down here, you've got the ability to defend down low or close that up. Okay, so with your pivoting, you want to be thinking of like there's a pole going through your head down into the ground, and you're basically turning from your centre, pivoting on that axis. With the feet, you want them to be planted flat on the ground. When I noticed you doing your pivoting and your chum-chu, you were fully lifting your toes up in the air. Now I'm going to make a little bit of a clip on that in a second, but bear with me for now. You want to have it like there's a nail through the centre of the size of your entire foot there. If I have my pivoting on my toes, what happens is my vertical axis shifts from side to side, and here all they need to do is push me backwards. where if I'm almost like a sphere, I'm pivoting I'm redirecting them. So I've now got the ability to attack at the same time as I've redirected them. Also, if a strike is coming in towards me here, I'm out of the way of it at the same time as I can reach them. So I'm going to show you a clip later on demonstrating that, but for now, 2 drills that I would get you doing is to get something like a stick, like this, lay that down on the ground, and practice just maybe 1 punch in line with it, another punch in line with it, and my feet should be parallel. So boom, boom. When you get used to that, you might do 3 punches. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then you have to forgive my technique because I'm talking at the same time, so I'm not really concentrating on it that much. But then you might do continuous chain punching. You don't need to exaggerate your pivot too much because then my energy is getting sent away. So if I pivot too far, too much of my energy is going that way. You want it to be roughly, so you got the person's shoulder here and here. You wouldn't pivot further around than past their shoulder. So you've still got a little bit of an ability when I'm pivoting to be lined up to strike back to the opponent. If I pivot too far, I now can't actually reach the person, but from here I can still reach the person. So I'm not really explaining it that well in this rant, but here the feet remain parallel. So there's a drill of punching along the centre line. And there's another one where you can think of maybe if you're moving someone away, if you've maybe this is their arm and you've latched onto it, you can move them away. So this one here is where I think of forward the whole time. So I might pivot like this. Oh, so lean back there. So you want to keep upright. Maybe just do this. But what you don't want to do is have those toes in the air. So Wing Chun's based on natural body movement. When you walk, your foot usually is natural. If I'm trying to walk like this, it's not very good. Where if I'm sort of got this sort of natural feeling, it's a bit like skiing. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. I've never done skiing, but when you see them, they've got a connection with the balance and a connection with the ground as they're sort of like scooping along like that. If they were to just jump all over the place like this, they'll probably fall over. So when you're skateboarding, which I can do, you're kind of using your body as one. If I were to try skateboarding on my heels like that, it's not going to work. So Wing Chun can translate into other aspects of life as well, which is something that I quite like about the art. Alright, a bit of a wide shot there, so if you can't see what I'm doing, it's the only way that I can get my feet in the shot. Basically, what I was talking about, pivoting on the toes, some people they pivot sort of like this. They've left their leg exposed to being kicked. Also, if this leg was to be kicked, because all their balance is on that one leg, then they're going to fall over, possibly, or at least get a very sore leg. But the main thing is, if I'm pivoting on my toes like that, see how the strike's here. If I pivot on my toes, I'm actually moving away from the intended target. So I'm decreasing my power by pivoting like that. The same thing if I pivot on my heels, like this. If I put my heels up and I punch this thing, I'm actually pushing myself back and almost KO'd myself on the equipment there by doing that. So it's very dangerous actually to pivot on your heels sort of like that, unless you've got the connection with the whole foot. So there are styles out there that do pivot on the heels. I'm not trying to say that you're rubbish. I mean, you guys practice that a lot, so you've got to develop skill in it. But all I can say is, by having a complete connection with my whole foot, I personally feel that I've got the ability to get a bit of connection there. So from here, if I can't reach the person, now if I pivot, I can now reach the person. So essentially, you're increasing your range, but you also, this is one-way force. If I add the pivoting movement, there's two-way force. There I collapsed a bit, so I've got to relax. Can't really see on the bag because the wall's behind it, so it doesn't really have much give. But if I go here, that's okay. But if I add in a pivot, it's increasing the amount of force. So you've got one-way force, and then add in a pivot, you've got two-way force, and maybe you might add in a step as well, so there's three ways of force. So you really, this pivoting is good for the classic pull and strike. So here I've got, this is upright, my feet are parallel. A good example is with the elbow strike with the pivot. If I pivot on my toes again, I'm moving away. So here, if I pivot kind of up here on my toes, I'm moving away from the target. Well, you want to be moving you want to be attacking the target. If I've got my heels, toes up, it's not rocket science. I mean, that's the main thing. When I first seen your clip of your Chun Q, I seen those toes up in the air and I'm like, oh God, he's been taught wrong. And so I sort of kind of had a little bit of a chuckle. But then when I seen that you had made your Wing Chun training dummy, I actually thought, he's getting pretty close, but there's just a few things that are off. So hopefully this video has been a little bit of a help. There was one other final thing I would say. Well, there were two other things I wanted to talk about. Is in your Chun Q form, you've got an angle that way and an angle that way. So I go from here to here. So when I'm here, if I get back into my stance here, this bongs out, it still bongs out from the cylinder. So see that, how I'm in my triangle stance? If I do my Chun Q to there, and then I bring this back to here, this is bongs out. Some people do it on a 45 like this, so they go like this, out like this. Now if I were to get back into my triangle stance, it's no longer bongs out. So this type of movement to the 45 creates a hunched shoulder. It's also that elbow up thing which you want to try to avoid. So you want to go, it's quite a hard angle there. You have to forgive some of the clutter in the background, but from this direction to this direction, it's about there, not to there. Because if I go like that and then shift back into my cylinder, this happens. Where if I go to here, get back into my cylinder, I'm now in bongsa. So cylinder, bong, Chun Q, bilji it's all incorporated into that dummy form, and they all build up on each other, which traditionally is taught very, very slowly. Also, when you do your Chun Q, this section here, you're supposed to be going that way. You're doing yours backwards or something. This way. So, fuck it. Sawn down is one way of redirection. If I add in Chun Q, it's 2 ways of redirection. If I add in the stepping to the side, it's 3 ways of redirection. So that's increasing your redirection. Where the way that you're doing it backwards is it's okay, I guess, because you're getting out of the way of it, but you want to be attacking. Sometimes if you just go, you can do this, but there's not much power in it, kind of like what I was describing before. Where you actually want to move the person out of the way, and then you've got all this to get to. Where if I just go like this, it's kind of like hoping for the best, but kind of like hitting like a girl. Sorry, girls. So yeah, also with your dummy form, there was a bit where you're on the lower arm. Yes, you can sort of use it to redirect away, but you want to have a little bit of intention toward the dummy as well. So, hope some of those things were helpful, and I know it was a bit of a long rant, but I enjoyed making it, and yeah, best of luck.